I get no 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 I get no no can't deny it.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Patrik Juranek, and I am from Startup Disrupt, and it's my very pleasure to welcome you at this amazing event from the startup founders navigating through early days. And what is actually about Startup Disrupt? So we are the platform where we are trying to educate, inspire, and then connect the entrepreneurs, startups, and mentors and technology innovators all around the world. And we are trying to do it to even help you through our online digital innovation hub working to make the global impact. It wouldn't be possible for us to organize events like this without our partners and sponsors who are supporting us on this journey. Like for today's event, HAVEL Partners, Vienna Business Agency, Vienna Up 21, CzechInvest, Grow with Google, Microsoft for Startups, Hub, and T-Internet. We would like to as well invite you for the Vienna Up 21, which is amazing event held in the following months, which is the largest decentralized and community-driven digital startup festival in spring 2021. Sign up at viennaup.com and join the online matchmaking. Connect with the Vienna startup community, corporates, and investors at viennaup.com. And to begin with, just in a nutshell, what's today here for you? So at the beginning, we'll start with panel discussion, which will be moderated by amazing Oliver Laria. After that, we'll have 4 brave startup founders who are brave enough to pitch their startup idea and project to our panelists and you. And they'll have 3 minutes to pitch their idea and the rest of the time to give receive some meaningful feedback from our panelists. And if you have any questions regarding to anything regarding to a panel discussion, please go to Slido, and if you'll use the code SDE, you can ask the questions, and we'll try to answer the most of them. So definitely put the likes, thumbs up for any question which you would like to ask, and we'll pick the most favorite ones. So thank you very much, and enjoy today's stream. And right now, I would like to pass the word to Oliver, who will be the moderator. So Oliver, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Patrik, and thank you to everyone who's watching right now at the moment. It's great that you are taking the time out of your very, very busy Wednesdays, undoubtedly, to join us and essentially, as we like to say, pour rocket fuel into your startup's growth by amassing some amazing wisdom from our great speakers. As always, we have 3 speakers tonight, which is, and now drum roll please, one by one. First of all, we have Marek Polčák, the CEO and co-founder of VRgineers, a top-notch VR/AR company here in Prague, in Holešovice. This is just a very sort of personal anecdote, but my friend works for them and says only the best of stuff. So truly groundbreaking stuff those guys are doing in Holešovice. Then we have Tomáš Navrátil, a senior lawyer focused on company acquisition at HAVEL Partners, with this beautiful background from their meeting room. Now it's a beautiful background now. And finally, Andrej Kiska, the very renowned startup investor at early stage venture capital fund Credo Ventures, eating some absolutely amazing duck with dumplings, if I've heard correctly. And I want to thank these 3 guys as well, because these are evening's rock stars, giving their amazing insights into what you should actually do at the beginning when starting up and starting your venture. So without much further ado, let me start this evening with, we'll do several rounds of questions for each of our panelists before then going on to your questions. But we'd like to reiterate, don't hesitate to ask, and we might throw your question sometime during this evening. So let me take it exactly as I've introduced them one by one. So let me start with a question for Marek. We obviously have a lot of early stage founders on this very stream. Some are companies that maybe started, but some are perhaps in the space as you are, in terms of having to do a lot of research and development, spending a lot of money early on to build out their product. They might be pre-launch. So please tell us more about, number one, VRgineers overall, but also how did you start? How did you finance your early stage growth? How did you get sales, even perhaps with just an idea?
Okay, thank you, Oliver. Great to be here. VRgineers as a company manufactures and develops high-end, high-tech virtual reality and mixed reality headsets, and they are mostly used for the simulations. And as you mentioned, our business in general is cash intensive for sure. When we started, I was lucky enough that I already built a successful company, which allowed me to invest quite a lot of money from early stage. But in general, when you are doing something what's more complex, what's not a simple, let's say, software as a service that you can prototype quite fast in, let's say, team of 3 to 5 people, and you really have to invest into some parts of hardware, which you can produce or you have to obtain or purchase, etc. There are, let's say, 2 ways that I can see. One is being a great salesman, being great in pitches, which I hope that people that we will see today will be, and they have the platform to practice, to get a big attention, for example, by Andrej Kiska here from Credo. So they will recognize for the first glance, these are the guys I want to pump a lot of money in. Because then you get enough runway to focus on the development of the product, doing the tests, sending prototypes, gathering the feedback, and really doing the fit with the market, right? So that's, let's say, option number 1. But of course, when you go to the VCs at early stage, it's hard to get them aboard when you have only the idea. They would much rather see already a product. They would like to see a track record, sales, and basically, from my experience, they would like to invest into something what's already scaling up. So if you are not that lucky and you are not salesman good enough to get this attention, then the second way, which is much longer, will be basically bootstrapping. Because what you can do is that you can try to start projects, you can try to sell, let's say, parts of the technology, if it's combination of hardware and software, if it's some kind of sensor, if it's IoT. You can try to get aboard first potential customers that are getting interested in the product enough to chip you in some money, so you can again go around and show, look, I have contract, it's not big, but it's a promise for the future, because if I don't get it signed, that will mean that I have nothing, but in here I have some proposition that there will be a future demand for the product. So for example, for us, we were somewhere in the middle, or it's a transition from one to another. So let's say that I pumped in my own money, then we gathered seed investors, and today I can say that over 50% of our R&D is already being paid by our customers who are interested in the product, but they need improvements. They have some specific demands, but most of their demands are same for all of our clients. But these particular, we can even name, such as US Air Force or US Navy, they are willing to pay very decent money into our R&D to be part of the design and of the routine. So this will be my advices or the ways that I can see.
Let me follow up on that with a quick question. So you mentioned some sort of like pre-sales model where you basically iterate or you change your solution according to the needs of a potential customer to get those early sales. But at the same time, what often you might hear from many startup advisors, and I am pretty sure Andrej will be the first one to confirm this. Customers often, when the famous saying, when you ask them what they want, they will tell you a faster horse. So from your experience, how visionary were your customers? Is that statement really true? Were you able to sort of pre-sell your customers without sacrificing too much of the grand vision of what could be?
I think that depends on the product. I mean, of course, there are visionaries who say there will be only one button. There is no need for the whole keyboard. But at the end, it doesn't have to work that way. Like, yes, it's about the founder and let's say executives in the company to focus on the right advices from these potential clients and partners. But that applies to everything. When you do something and you are in any executive role, you will be like overloaded with the noise. Like I had to listen to, let's say, maybe thousands of people telling me you are unable to build the headset. Then I build the headset. Then the noise was you are unable to build the best headset. Then I build the best simulation headset. And then the noise keeps coming, and it's about the founder to be focused, but to listen to people who has actually something to say. Like, look, if you want to use it for civil aviation, you need to add this and this feature. And it's up to you if it fits your strategy or not. When is the right time? But it's about doing a lot of decision making. That's for sure.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for that answer. I think two main two key bits of that answer for our founders on this call is, number one, undoubtedly the focus that you mentioned. It's not just another VR headset, but it's a very specific simulation focused headset for example, aviation. And the second bit is obviously the whole hard things that you just have to make decisions that are difficult and undoubtedly often will leave you sleepless for many nights. So thank you for that answer. Let's move on to Tomáš. He was the second one introduced. So please, Tomáš, as well, give us more perspective on what it is that you at the HAVEL and Partners do. And so number one, introduction. And the second bit is, we mentioned a lot of R&D, right? So let's look at it more from like the legal point of view. When you do R&D, you obviously are creating something completely new. How do you go about protecting this new thing that you created? How much time and how much resources should you put into creating and protecting your IP, your know-how, and basically talk us through the process that might be helpful for our founders that also have created something incredibly new and would like to perhaps patent it and that sort of stuff.
All right. Many thanks, Oliver and Patrick, for asking me. I'm glad to be here alongside these great speakers. As you said initially, I'm an M&A lawyer, particularly focusing on venture capital transactions and related matters. Getting to your questions, yes, it is very important to protect the intellectual property rights and to set up well the processes from the beginning, if possible. We have here Marek, who is co-founder and founder of VRgineers. And this is very specific, I would say, because we don't see, at least in our law firm, much startups focusing on hardware. It is more about software development. But anyway, it is the IP is core for hardware as well as software. For example, when there is one founder or multiple founders and co-workers which are developing certain idea, let's say it is a software, so they are coding, it is a typical mistake or typical downfall at the beginning of creation of this process, that they don't have set up the company initially. So basically the IP vests in them, not in the company, or which is more frequent, they don't have proper agreements among themselves and the company, or the employees or contractors and the company. So when we are approached by the startup or the founder or already the investor at the very beginning of the investment process, we are looking at this particular thing. This is I would say number one topic which needs to be resolved. So either we check it and it's okay, or if it's not okay, we propose certain solutions. Because it is in the interest of all parties involved that this is well set up, and it is very important also for the exit, which third party investor purchasing the entire startup after, let's say, a couple of years is really seeking in and checking if it is okay or not. So it is important to do that well. Of course, when we are speaking of software and intangible assets in general, it is typically a less complicated process, and a couple of contracts would do the thing. When we are talking about hardware, patent applications and patent processes might be triggered and might be necessary. So this is much more time consuming and more costly, obviously, than to set up few IP related agreements. So this is the core difference between those areas. I mean, hardware and software.
Perfect. Thank you for that answer. And by the way, all of our listeners, I think it's clear who the man when it comes to obtaining patents and that stuff. It's clear who the man is when he can make this incredibly difficult stuff sound like it's just a bunch of contracts, easy simple contracts. Because I have done this. It's to me and to many people, it's not just a bunch of contracts, but when you work with an expert, it apparently is. So thank you for that answer. But obviously, just a real quick question. Number one thing is, like, financially, you have to sort of pay some money upfront to get this sort of patent. But would you say that founders should also perhaps keep backup money? Because one thing is having a patent, but the second thing is also having the money that if somebody sort of tries to copy what you are doing, you need money for the legal process to sort of say, hey, we have this patented, we have this IP, back off. So how often does it happen that people also need like big sums of money to actually sort of claim that we have this patent? How often does this happen in your experience?
In my personal experience, it is not that frequent. However, yes, when I just observe the cases and this area, yes, there are bad guys, I would say, which seek for these opportunities and try to steal the idea, especially if the patent process is not well driven from the very beginning. But yes, for example, you file a patent application, and this doesn't mean that you receive the patent. So somebody else might come and file similar applications or try to cover different jurisdictions, because it is also very important, because we have Europe here, we are United States, and this patent processes and patents are not universal. So this is unfortunate and provides more complication that it might be seen from the very beginning. But it is as it is. But it is difficult. I don't think that typical startup and the founders have enough money to prepare for some kind of patent battle. So of course, if they have some kind of reserve of resources, which they can put aside and prepare for something like this, it is helpful. But yeah, I don't see that very, very common.
Perfect. Thank you. And lastly, we are coming back to Andrej, who hopefully had a really nice meal. And for Andrej, we are going to sort of implement one of our Slido questions, combined sort of with what I had in mind previously, and we are going to ask the very key startup questions to the very, very experienced investor. So Andrej, number one, as always, please introduce yourself, although I think too many you don't need an introduction. But the question to you is, from an investor's point of view and working with many startups, what to you is the definition of a startup? Because I'm asking, because nowadays I feel like almost everybody, even the mom and pop corner shop, wants to call themselves a startup. Everybody wants to be the cool new startup. In the US, in the Valley, the sort of ecosystem of investing is huge. You literally don't have to start another VRgineers. You can start an FMCG brand that sells drinks, that sells chips, and they seek investment because they want to be the next big giant growth startup. So what to you is a startup, and how do we know when we have a startup that is worthy of investment rather than bootstrapping and building from there?
Sure. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm Andrej Kiska, general partner at Credo Ventures, and a big fan of Duck with Houska and Zeli, as you probably saw. So look, to answer the question, I actually have, not to shamelessly promote my own literature, but I actually have an entire chapter of a Central and Eastern European startup guide devoted to the definition of what a startup is. And also a PowerPoint that actually also starts with the slide that you said, okay, today every mom and pop shop seems to be called a startup, and everything is a startup, and startups are just another excuse to burn through a lot of money. So what is a startup, and why is it impactful, right? So look, I decided to steal the definition of startup from Paul Graham, who is the founder of Y Combinator, the most famous accelerator in the world, who looks at startup through the scope of ambition to grow fast. And by growing fast, he says a good startup should be able to grow at a rate of 5 to 7% per week, ideally 10% per week. So what that means is if you have a startup that has $1,000 in revenue, you should be in hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue in 4 years if you grow like that, right? So you can define a startup through their ambition to reach hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue in a very short period of time, let's say 5 years, to keep things simple. If you define a startup this way, it also sort of answers a lot of questions about why is startup a unique entity. First off, in order to grow so fast, it's very hard to wait until you generate your own positive cash flow and then reinvest that. So more often than not, you will be seeking outside funding, and that's what you come to VCs for, right? And that's also what VCs are looking for. Do you have that ambition and potential to grow into the company of that size? Second of all, it also explains why so many startups fail, right? We get 1,500 business plans. We invest in 8 to 10 a year, and half of our investments are going to fail. And the reason why they fail is you have to take an enormous amount of risk in order to grow to hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue in 5 years. And most of the startups are never going to make it. Some will make it to less revenue, some will make it to no revenue. But at the end of the day, it does, I think, define well why startup a unique vehicle and why not every mom and pop shop can be a startup if you look at it through the scope of ambition and potential to grow.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That is a very comprehensive answer. So essentially, a startup is is around growth, and to sort of, I mean, obviously startups are mostly about de-risking, and I think from like a VC/investor standpoint, it's also about risking and like taking calculated, smart risks. That I'm not a VC, as you can tell, because I'm not the famous guy in the room. But I like, if I were a VC, I'd be maybe looking at it like, okay, let's not take this 1000x bet if it has like 5% of success. If I can have this 500x bet if there's like a 50% chance of success, because I mean the trade-off is better that way. So in terms of de-risking, what from your the power rule startups that made it, what are the common traits of those that survived, that made it? What were the steps that they took early stage, as our founders are currently now early stage? What are the steps that they've taken at that stage to be the super successful startups in several years?
Sure. So let me just start like addressing sort of the assumption built in about like de-risking, right? Like when a VC looks at its portfolio, and this might be counterintuitive, but actually you want to see more write-offs than less, because the more write-offs you have, the more risk you are taking, and the more risk you are taking, hopefully the greater the reward if it potentially works out, right? Like the problem with VC, you are not in the business of making every investment successful. You are in the business of, when you are right 1 out of, I don't know, 10 cases, how right are you? How big is that outcome going to be? Because that outcome needs to pay for all the other failures. So the problem is that if you don't take enough risk and you don't chase enough reward, if that reward turns out to be too small, then you have not covered all the other losses, right? Like that's why a VC has to swing for the fences. So that's sort of to the risk profile and like what a VC, at least us at Credo, are looking at. And now, what are the common traits of the startups that are successful? And I gotta tell you, there is no single recipe how to be successful, right? Like most founders, when they recollect their story, they lie. They don't lie on purpose. They lie by the way human psychology works, right? Like you kind of, like if you are supposed to describe what have you been doing for the past 10 years, you are not really going to remember what it was like 10 years ago. You are going to construct a story based on a few data points that you remember. And most founders, and most VCs for that matter, tend to skip on the luck part, right? Like what separates a founder of UiPath, the $35 billion company out of Romania, from a founder of a startup that didn't work out? Actually, you would be surprised how little. Now Daniel might look like this really outspoken, fancy guy who is just killing it. But I can tell you, when he came to us for the first investment, he looked like just a regular Central and Eastern European founder with like a Dracula-like accent when he spoke English, which he still has, by the way. And so there's no magic, right? Like there's no like secret killer set of traits that now I can tell you, and if you have those people, startups are going to be successful. A huge part of it is being at the right time, at the right place, with the right product, right? Which happened to be RPA in the case of UiPath. Now, what I can tell you are some of the traits that lead to a disaster, particularly in Central and Eastern Europe. What Central and Eastern Europe suffers from is that we are a very small market, which means that if you are semi-good in something, you kind of think of yourself of like a half a god, like, like I already know everything, there's nothing for me to learn. And it's very easy to lose humility if you are building a business out of Czech Republic, because there are so few startups being built. But your real competition, especially in any given field, is most likely not in the Czech Republic, right? Like it's probably somewhere in the US or China or like UK, and you don't really know what's happening in their kitchen, right? So you don't really know where you stand. And that's why we really try to encourage our founders to go to the US or to the big markets very early on, to speak to the customers and speak to the others, to really absorb what the big boys are doing and see if you can compare there. And we always joke around that, well, if you don't find financing or customers, at least you bought yourself some humility, right? So that's sort of so humility is a big one. And the second one is ability to listen, which is also like a very central European trait, right? Like we see a lot of founders who say, oh, that customer doesn't get what I'm saying, and therefore I don't want to speak to that customer because the customer is stupid, right? As opposed to saying, well, why doesn't that customer understand what I'm saying? Or what is it that he doesn't understand, and how can I improve my pitch? So from this perspective, I do see like a good trait of how to kill your startup is to blame your failures on your customers, right? Or somebody else. So I think the ability to listen, I think the ability to be willing to be challenged and learn from your own mistakes and be able to expose yourself to somebody who's bigger, faster, more experienced, whatever, is very important. And that I see sometimes missing in Central Europe.
Perfect. Thank you for sorry, Jesus, I had a bit of a brain mess up there. Thank you so much for that answer. That's the one. Definitely. I think the survivorship bias of super sad stories, how we started from the bottom, now we hear Drake style, remind me of my family telling me about the horrible stories when they had to fetch water every morning in Africa, 5 kilometers then and back. So I think the survivorship bias definitely is strong in founder stories. So thank you so much for that answer. So let's take it back to Marek. I think this could be quite well connected with a Slido question we have here. The question is, how does a South African startup with a fully working product get international exposure for investment? I think for you guys, it was even a bit harder because maybe in the very, very beginning, you didn't have that fully fleshed out product. So how did you go about getting exposure in the early stages with VRgineers? Perhaps, obviously, big patriot here, so Czech Republic, love the country, but from, as Andrej said, not the big country. So how did you get exposure in the beginning with VRgineers to get those big names such as the US Navy or military or whatever?
So we started to travel a lot, and I mean really a lot. Like before I started VRgineers, I was never in US. After we started, I was in US once a month or once every 2 months maximum. Traveling around, visiting potential customers, gathering feedback, learning about the market, how it works, etc. And also attending a lot of expos where people who are interested in new technologies or who are actually seeking solutions for their existing challenges are coming to discuss like what will be the future, how it will work, where virtual mixed reality in our case can help, how fast it will develop, what they need, etc. So we showcase there a lot. But one thing good to know is that when you go once, 2 times, people from Silicon Valley or in general New York, all the big hubs will perceive you as a visitor. And that's for sure. They see there thousands of people with their eyes up of their heads, thinking that they will be billionaires in maybe 1 or 2 months or so. And they come, they spend some money, and then they leave. They go to 1 or 2 events. So for us, it was about yes, we are here this month, we will be here next month, we will attend this expo, let's see and chat on another one. And this way you build a credibility. You are not going anywhere, you will be here. And that's, for example, how we managed to establish a very good partnership with such giants like NVIDIA. Because step after step, I met with lower management, and I ended up after a few meetings meeting with one of the directors and then with another director, and they liked our work and they heard about us before and they heard about us after we left. And that way you build a connection, you build a relationship. And that's what you need to do, because if you only like pop up out of nowhere and do like one show, that will not work from my experience. I'm not saying it will not work for someone else, but that's what I perceived as important to do.
Yeah. What I'm basically hearing there is just like confirmation of what Andrej said, that probably if there's a working product, exposure, there's no like simple formula. You just had to, I personally don't like this word, but many do. You just had to grind and hustle and really work on that, even through activities that don't necessarily scale, like flying there and back.
Yeah.
Really
and find your way. I totally agree with Andrej that there is no like one path to success. It's different for each company, and it will be different even for company doing totally the same thing, and one will fail and one will succeed. And the difference can be I don't know, one evening when someone was working and someone was not. But in one case, it can be he was not working, he was out, and he met the person who helped him to sell. But on the other side, the two companies again doing the same. The guy who was working late succeeded because he needed that little niche to finish something in the product, and that's the world. It is how it is. And the thing you can do as the CEO, as the founder, is to finding the right ways and basically increasing your activity when you find this, let's say, golden nugget that you need to work on much more than previously on other parts that were, let's say, out of focus and were not moving you as fast as this specific activity.
Perfect. And just to maybe touch on that, so one thing that Andrej mentioned was good timing, having the right product in like at the right place in the right time. Clearly, you rode a beautiful trend and you had a wonderful product at the right time, like in the right place. Was it? Now, I don't want to sort of undermine your great success, but would you say it was luck, but was it like a more calculated decision that you maybe saw a trend and rode it? And if so, how can somebody spot a trend like you did, or was it just we believed in VR and we got very lucky?
It's nice. It looks like that from the outside. I would say that it was the opposite from the inside, because really the timing is everything, for sure. If you prepare next generation platform and you don't have internet infrastructure, it's worthless. And someone who comes at the right time, they will win. And there are, from my point of view, there are only two ways how to succeed regarding the timing. It's this combination of, yes, luck, right advisors, right managers, everything that will work out, or persistence, because you don't have to be the best at very near time frame. You can also do the other way. You can improve and improve and improve, and basically wait when the time is right, and then you will experience that fast scale up. And that's, for example, the good example is that a few years ago, our company was compared with StarVR. I don't know if people know it or not, but let's say another company, startup, who does virtual reality headsets, quite high specs, high tech. And they raised 5 million, then 20 million, then another 20 million. And everyone was telling us, you will be crushed. They have so much money, they have smart brains, they are executing faster, etc. But the timing killed them, because the market was not ready at that point. And I'm telling you, even today, the market is not ready for the widespread adoption of VR. We can see a lot of improvements with the Oculus, but today amount of mobile phones is still 1,000 times more than the VR headsets. And this will change. And the question is when and what will be the trigger? And I'm telling you, I will be here to experience it with our company. The only question is when. But since we already built a very solid ground with customers like very high quality worldwide brands that are willing to pay us for our products, our R&D capabilities and projects, I can tell you that we will be there to experience it. And that's basically all I need to know.
Brilliant. Yeah, that is really really good. So I think sort of to summarize that, you certainly do have to sort of start with a vision, but you can at least help yourself in the timing in the way that you described by being persisting and keeping your eyes open. I just asked because obviously there's a big story about Jeff Bezos looking at the statistics of internet growth and suddenly having his aha moment and starting Amazon. So I think there is a way to maybe sort of nudge the luck to your side. So thank you for that answer. Taking it back to Tomáš, we've also talked a lot about if not fully bootstrapping, then approaching investors for investment. Now, obviously, there are multiple ways, and we have listeners from all around the world. But there are multiple ways, sort of, how you can start a company, how you can incorporate it. Obviously, still, I believe that the most popular way, and if you watch any of like the Y Combinator startup school videos and probably most of the startup publications, they will mention the super famous Delaware Corp. You've worked with startups that were also incorporated in the Czech Republic as sort of our Czech listeners will understand as the SRO, somewhere AS, akciová společnost. So if you are thinking that your startup will seek investment, what is the proper form you should start with? You can take it like either in the Czech Republic or worldwide. Would you go for the Delaware Corp? Talk to us about that.
Thanks, Oliver, for the question. There is unfortunately not universal guideline or a recommendation on that. And in our practice, we have seen a number of combination and options, how this has been approached. What is the most typical in Czech Republic and Slovakia as well is that there is a SRO, limited liability company, which is the easiest and most convenient for establishment from the perspective of timing and also cost-wise, because there is a very little minimum registered capital which needs to be put into the company, unlike in case of joint stock company, which requires more significant funds to invest. In Czech Republic, it is 2 million Czech crowns for registered capital. In Slovakia, there is very good combination of LLC and joint stock company, which is simplified joint stock company, which was specifically created by smart heads, I would say, for venture capital investment. So Andrej, you are better off in Slovakia than in Czech Republic with that, actually. And speaking of legal forms and jurisdictions, yes, it is also possible to establish a company in a different jurisdiction than in Czech Republic or Slovakia. It could be United States. Delaware is very popular because it's very simple, easy, and not very costly to set up a company there. It could be also Netherlands or another jurisdiction. I don't think it is necessary that the founders and co-founders establish such company from the very beginning, and it is not typically required by the investors. It really depends also on the stage of investment and on the stage of the product and the startup, definitely. We have experience, there was a transaction we made with Credo, there was investment in Slovakia, actually 2 existing companies with rather complicated ownership structure. And the investors, Credo and other investors, decided not to pursue the investment in Slovakia, and agreed with the founder and co-founders to establish a holding in Netherlands, which was subsequently combined with, in the ownership structure with the Slovakian companies. So basically, the shareholdings were contributed to the holding, and the investors invested in the holding company and own it together with the founders. So those steps can be done basically anytime, and it really depends on which market would like to penetrate and focus on. And based on that, you will opt for United States, Netherlands, or any other European or world country. So basically, it is really up to the specific situation, and there is unfortunately not universal guide for that.
Okay, and just for our founders that might be sitting at home and thinking, okay, well, Netherlands, Delaware, like, do I actually have to go on a Skyscanner now and fly to where or fly to Amsterdam? Is it possible to basically sit here in my flat in Prague and start a company in Delaware from the comforts of my own home, or in Netherlands from the comforts of my own home?
Yes, it is possible. There are specific service providers and advisors who focus on that kind of services, so you can easily set up company in Delaware from your home. But as I said, it is not necessary, and unless I'm mistaken, Andrej, it is not what the investor really seek, at least in Central European region. Of course, if you wish to and prefer to approach investors directly in US without bothering to approach investors in here, which is not typical, then yes, okay, go for the US company or Netherlands company and whichever company you want. But if you wish to go to ask, for example, Credo here and introduce yourself on your product, I don't think it is necessary. If it is up to the common heads up and discussion with the investor at which stage it is necessary or preferable to establish such a different holding or other company. So personally, if I start a business here in Czech Republic, I would establish Czech limited liability company, SRO, and then I would ask the investors to consider my product and consider investment in me.
Fantastic. I think we have a question from Slido here for you. I think it relates to what we discussed previously. It is the protection of know-how and IP. And the question goes, if you have an idea that you realize has the potential to disrupt an industry, how do you protect it at the beginning from being stolen, implemented by others? So what are this is more almost like a listicle of the options that one can do. So what are the different ways you can protect it?
All right. Maybe it is not such a groundbreaking answer, but from the very start, I wouldn't say anyone about that unless I totally trust that person. This is first thing. It's not legal answer, but it is a good answer. I trust. Of course, it really depends, as we spoke before about that. It really depends if it is hardware or software solution. If it is hardware solution, obviously, let's go for a patent office as soon as you can, as soon as it is patentable, which has certain processes. It is also worth investing time and money to check whether something like that hasn't already been patented or subject to a pending application process. If it is a software, if it is an idea, other than contractual protection, there is not much you can do about that. Basically, it can be generalized that we have intellectual property which is registerable, which you can register with certain offices, and which is not. If you are with your product at the category impossible to register, it is not technically and legally possible, then you need to protect it by contracts and trust with the companions you have, actually.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And let's take it back again to our investor in the house. And we have a bunch of VC related questions here in Slido. So let me go through them. I think the best one to sort of ask is the question that is often neglected by founders. I feel that usually founders see all investors the same. They put on their founder glasses and they see VCs and investors. Sorry, I made probably a mistake there. And the founders, they see VCs and investors as basically just walking bags of money. Like every VC is the same. He's just a big wallet who is here to give me money. But only few founders realize that also there needs to be some sort of like a founder VC fit. Obviously, because investors, be it VCs or angels, they invest in different industries, but also obviously it's sort of there has to be sort of like a personal fit. So what are basically the pointers? What are the criteria one should look out for when looking for a VC?
Yeah, so first off, I would say like the founders are right. Like at the end of the day, VCs are a big bag of money, right? Like we are the salesmen of the largest commodity in the world, which is cash. So like, let's just be honest about that. Now, the problem with that bag is that it comes with different strings attached. Some people like to call it like smart money or dumb money. And I like to call it like good or evil money. Like, I don't think any investor is going to be like particularly smart or stupid. Like, I don't think this is like a IQ test for VCs. But what I can tell you is that there are good or evil VCs, and evil in a way that, that bag of money can sink your startup, especially if you get in a fight with it. And so if I was a founder, number one thing I would do is I would speak to the startups from that VC's portfolio who did not make it, not those who did make it, but those who failed. And how did the VC behave when things didn't go well? Because I can tell you that every startup is going to go through a phase when the startup is not doing well. And the question is, what is a VC going to do? Is that VC going to be a shock absorber or a shock inducer? And what I sort of call evil money, even though it's not intentionally evil, but unintentionally, there are investors who, especially when they face adversity, are gonna double down on that adversity, right? Like, to me, a role of a good VC is somebody who balances the boat, doesn't rock the boat. So when there is too much disappointment, you add energy. If there is irrational euphoria, you try to calm it down. But you are supposed to bring a level of subtlety and steadiness to sort of a very rocky ride. And I think that there are definitely investors who add more rockiness than steadiness to the startup journey. And I would try to avoid those. And honestly, like, it's easy, right? Like, there are definitely VCs in the Czech Republic who, if you ask their portfolio founders what they think, are not going to tell you great things. And like, if somebody tells you not a great thing about an investor, like, imagine what the startup is going through. Like, you spent a decade with that investor or however long, and you say something negative about him. Just like, ask Oliver Dlouhý what he thinks about some of his investors. He's pretty public about it. So there's definitely a class of investors who I do believe are toxic and damage startups, and I think those startups can avoid them, and it's actually pretty easy to avoid them. So that's who I would avoid. That's sort of the bar that I would look for.
Mm-hmm. Oh, awesome. And now to sort of flip it and ask another question that is also being asked on Slido. So that is the sort of founder to VC perspective. But if you flip it and look at the VC to founder perspective, how do you evaluate startups? What are the red flags that you are maybe looking for? What should founders try to avoid? Because This is just a personal pet peeve of mine when I help startups with their pitches. They always show me this beautiful hockey stick of a graph, and I say, hey, I've seen this hockey stick 10 times this past week. Don't show me the hockey stick, because any bozo can come up with a hockey stick. So is it that you're actually looking to see the hockey stick, or what is it that you are actually looking for when evaluating a startup?
So, like, it comes back to humility on the question of a hockey stick. Like, I am pretty okay with the fact that the startup CEO is not going to tell me what his revenues are going to look like in 3 to 5 years. Nobody really knows, right? Like, Mike Tyson says that, like, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, and a startup gets punched in the face every day. So, like, like, I'm totally okay with not having a 5-year, $100 million graph, even though I am subconsciously looking for it. But I'm looking for sort of a level of authenticity and understanding of the market, right? So, like, when we are speaking about market sizing or forecast, I don't want to see top down. What I actually want to see is bottom up of, here are the customers I know, here is what I'm speaking to. If those pan out, this is what could happen to the startup in the next 6 to 12 months, right? That's the kind of visibility you have. When you are, let's say, doing a seed round of financing or any venture round of financing, you typically give that startup 12 to 18 months of runway. And the key question is, where does that startup need to get in those 12 to 18 months to raise another round? Anything beyond that time horizon in something so highly uncertain as a startup is just, a wild forecast, a gamble, a bet. So you kind of have to straddle down and say, what is it that I can prove with the cash I raised that will allow me to raise more cash? What are the key proof points I need to deliver? And that's where we spend some time evaluating sort of the, let's call it, market sizing.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And we are close to the end of the main part of the evening, and we'll be slowly moving to the pitch portion. But let me do a really quick, I'll call it a rapid fire round of questions. Again, asking each speaker a really brief question that can be probably answered within a sentence or two. So let me start with Marek, the highly execution focused speaker we have today, somebody who has actually done the whole early stage grind to growth part. So Marek, if you had to give advice to yourself when you were starting with VRgineers, what would that 1 or 2 pieces of advice be? I know it's a bit of a tougher question, but what would that be?
Maybe be prepared that anything can change, because you have something in your mind, but it will work the other way, and it will surprise you how it works. Because you think that certain things are written in the stone, but they are not. Everything can be negotiated, everything can change. The COVID situation proved as well that literally the whole world can be upside down, and you will experience a lot of situations you never thought about. And therefore, my advice for like new startupists will be, do really something what you like, what is your passion, because that's what will keep you running when these occasions will happen in your life. You're muted, Oliver.
Yeah, I should be the technically savvy one who should manage all of this stuff and who should be telling you guys what mistakes you are making in terms of the speech. Yet I am the beginner here, so sorry, that was a very amateur move. But thank you for that answer. I think that is great advice, not only for startups but almost for life. I'm picking up some sort of like very philosophical and very deep vibes from that. I think that is great advice. So thank you for that. Tomáš, we are getting more questions on IP and protection and trademarks because clearly the audience really enjoys your answers on this topic. So there is a question I think that many founders early stage face. We are thinking about trademarking something, about filing for a patent, but obviously early stage you are sort of short on cash. Is it worth it to trademark something as soon as possible, to file for a patent as soon as possible? Or do you think it's worth the risk to maybe wait a little bit until you have the funds to go through the process in full?
Yeah, again, it really depends. Depends on your funds available. It doesn't make sense to go much into that. In case you are not completely sure that your product or service can be a success, but definitely it is worth taking this steps and take this lead as soon as you can, and also proper advisors would guide you through that and also cover the timing. So the research, in case speaking of trademarks, it is also necessary to make the research if it is trademarkable, if it is possible to register your name, the brand of the product or not, because as I see the question from the public, if it is a common word, this might be a problem to make it a trademark. So it is worth invest into the proper advisors to have a look at it, to make the research for you, and to say if it's possible and if the timing is good or not.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Your legal advice has been truly invaluable. Wonderful. Thank you. And lastly, Andrej, okay, so now let's say I'm sitting here. I found a not so rocky investor who will accelerate my startup. I think I have what it takes. I have the insight. I have the team. I have the sort of CAC LTV calculation on point. I know the investor will love it and they will invest. What is the best way to reach out? Is it cold emailing? Is it LinkedIn? Is it just taking the bus and going to the Credo headquarters and knocking on your door? What is the best way to approach you as a VC?
I would recommend the metro. The bus stop here is pretty poor. But other than that, I would say the best way to get introduced to a VC is to a portfolio CEO, right? Because it's a person I already invested in, I have a trustful relationship in, and they are a fellow CEO. So, you know, they are in a best position to give you guidance and at the same time make intro. So I try to recommend to startup CEOs, particularly when they are starting, to make the explicit goal. I'm sorry, my English is getting horrible. The explicit goal of meeting at least one other founder every week, just to compare notes, see how things are going, what can you learn from each other. And if you do that every week, you meet 50 founders a year. Those founders typically have some investors, 2, 3. So all of a sudden you have access to 100 investors in 1 year. And that's just on the VC side, right? Like hopefully you are meeting these founders not just to get connected to their VCs, but also to share expertise and sort of know-how. So, you know, like one thing that is different from in the Valley compared to Central Europe is the velocity of information exchange. Everybody talks to everybody, everything gets shared, all the best practices get passed on very quickly. Here, you know, it's like we have 20 startups in the Czech Republic, and like a lot of them are in like different, you know, like SAMs and I think it's getting a lot better. I think there is a lot like happening to unite the founders. But given sort of how small the market is, I think particularly during COVID, when you can jump on Zoom, meeting founders from other countries, particularly the more mature ecosystems, can be very valuable.
Perfect. Thank you. So warm introductions, guys. Meet other founders, help one another. After all, we all are a ecosystem, and I think that Startup Disrupt is a good sort of starting point, because I feel that is our mission here to truly facilitate this sort of information exchange. And with that, I would like to close this main part. Once more, I'd like to thank our wonderful, wonderful speakers. They've done a truly cracking job at explaining everything, and even myself, and I usually pride myself on knowing the ins and outs of startup, and having watched all of the YC videos for the last 20, well, they're probably not in existence for 20 years, but knowing everything there is, I've truly learned a lot. So please share some love for our speakers in the chat. They've been amazing, and thank you once more, guys. But we are still not finished, because we have the whole pitching part to go. Very excited as a pitchman myself. And we will now have multiple startups presenting what they are currently working on. They will have 3 minutes for the presentation. And after that, okay, we sort of lost Tomáš. I don't know where he went, but after that, they will receive some feedback from our speakers. And first, who do we have first? So, hey, Tomáš is back. Amazing.
Yeah,
so
kind of issue.
Okay, so first, actually, who do we have here? So let me do it this way. The first one that comes to mind could be Martin from Ulmana. So please, can we grab Martin from Ulmana to present us with his work? And okay, we are missing Martin. He will join soon. So
I'm gonna get some water while we chase Martin, okay?
Okay, perfect. In that case, let's get Marketa from Founty. Hello, Marketa.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So let's just before you can start sharing your screen if that is possible.
Yes, let me give a moment.
Yeah. While you do that, Andrej will be grabbing his cup of water, and let's give it like 30 seconds-ish, because I've heard he's a very speedy runner, so I think he'll be there and back in a few seconds. I don't think it will take him too much time. And yeah, I think if you are ready, sorry?
Can you see my presentation?
Yes, beautifully branded, love it already. And essentially, if you are ready, I think you can go for it.
Okay, perfect. So hello, everybody, once more. Thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be on this event. My name is Marketa, and I'm here to talk about Founty. So at the very beginning of our story, there was a very simple idea. We just wanted to connect volunteers with seniors, because seniors are really lonely and isolated these days. And that is quite apparently true. But after a couple of customer interviews, we've realized that seniors don't want to feel constantly helpless and useless. They don't want to feel helped again and again. And that made us rethink our whole idea. And instead of connecting volunteers with the poor seniors, we try to find such a solution that could instead, and first and foremost, put more light on the potential and wisdom of the elderly population, and possibly solve loneliness as a bonus at the top. And here we go. Founty facilitates meaningful intergenerational connections based on sharing the unique life experiences and skills of seniors. Our reasons why we keep working on the idea is mainly the fact that we feel that we are up to solving a pretty urgent social need with a sustainable and scalable business model. And also, I would say that the data quite clearly support that the market space for solving loneliness by some innovative technology solutions is pretty interesting and growing. So far, we've managed to do a couple of customer interviews. We won second place at Roboton this winter, and right now we are preparing testing of our MVP in the Czech market as well as the US market. And we are hoping to evaluate, build, and launch the product as soon as possible for our early adopters. Who are in the early stage. We want to focus on mainly vital digitally skilled seniors or seniors in the care of their daughters and sons for a couple of reasons. And well, who we are actually? Well, I would say that we are a pretty diverse and driven team. We are working from Brno, Chomutov, Derby, and New York at the same time. And I would say that despite our very different backgrounds, we all have in common some form of experience with the elderly population, either from working in a nursing home or organizing some volunteering activities for this group of people. So I think that this is the thing that brought us together and that drive us to continue. And well, what we need? Well, we need resources. We need resources to make our MVP testing even better, faster, and hopefully more representative. And we also need resources to build and launch our product as quickly as possible. Because I think that the need is pretty urgent and the potential pretty high. So there's nothing to wait for. And yeah, that is all from my side. Thank you for your attention, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for the pitch. And now to our speakers, let's give it like 4 minutes-ish of feedback.
I can start if you want. Markéta, so thank you so much for the presentation. I love the mission. I'm involved a lot in senior care, either here in the Czech Republic in Accent, but also Becker of Sarah. Can you describe in greater detail the product itself?
Yes, so the idea in the early stage is to simply connect the two groups, the seniors and the youth. And in the first stage, each group, they will have different interfaces, and they will describe who they are, what they are searching for. Seniors will describe mainly like what is the thing they are up to share, what they like and what they are good at. It could be either some cool recipes or cool stories from the war or anything else, or they could be just like the old wise buddies for somebody. Well, and on the other side, the youth population, they will mainly fill in the information about what they are searching, what they want to learn, or whether they want to just spend some time with somebody who is older than them and have some I would say like some wisdom or overview on the life. And and based on this information, the platform will find good matches and propose the matches to each other. It will be kind of something like a Tinder, but the user will not see the other person before we actually propose that could be a good match. So once the user see the match, he or she can either decide to meet the person or not. And first of all, they will meet in the online space, of course, and also due to this situation. But similarly as with Tinder, it's like the platform will give you just the space for finding the person, but then it's totally up to you whether you will meet the person like continually and then also in like the physical space. So yeah, that's it.
Cool. So thanks so much for that. I guess just one piece of feedback on it is that it's like common knowledge that elderly have more difficulties with technology, but particularly with like video conferencing solutions and like matching with people. In my experience, like, it's underwhelming to say that elderly have difficulty with technology. So I would pay a lot of attention to either having somebody from your firm around during those communications to provide the support for the interactions, or make sure that the kids are around, as you mentioned, I guess, during the presentation, because I think what you are going to face is technological worry on the elderly side and sort of cultural or insecurity worry on the youth side, right? Like, I can imagine the youth you can kind of overcome by sort of a good product. I think with the seniors, I would have some question marks.
Yeah, thank you for the feedback. I think it's pretty good, relevant points. Yeah. But if I can just briefly comment on it, this is the reason why we decided to focus on the early stage on like the daughters and sons of the seniors, that these could like enable access to the technology. And also the other early adopters group are like vital and digitally skilled seniors, and the number of seniors who are using smartphone is increasing. So I think this goes in our cards, kind of.
Yes.
Perfect. Marek, Tomáš, any quick feedback?
Just the question, maybe, like if you can, let's say, put a claim, what you are trying to achieve with this application. Would it be like, I don't know, no senior without contact within a week or something like that? What would it be?
Sorry, I didn't get the question completely. Like the claim
for what you are trying to achieve at the end, because I understand it's mainly to help the seniors with the social contact, correct?
Yes, and also I think that like our core mission is to deepen the intergenerational understanding. So I hope that this platform could facilitate and enable some meaningful connections between the two groups to happen.
Thank you.
Tomáš?
Yeah. Thank you very much for this interesting presentation. I also like the mission, as Andrej commented. I'm just wondering, I have tried to briefly look it up in the Czech commercial register if you have already registered a company, and I haven't found it under Founty. So do you already have some platform, I mean, a company here in Czech Republic or in the US or elsewhere?
Not yet. We have like domains. We have, of course, like LinkedIn and Facebook profiles, but we still don't have like the company set. So this is definitely on our list. But we think that like first and foremost, it will be very important to test the whole idea, and that is why we are focusing now on the MVP. I think that like anything could happen like after MVP, and we don't know what the results will be, so therefore we decided to focus now on the testing and then decide on like how exactly are we going to execute it later on.
All right, thank you. If I may, a quick follow-up on that. I understand that there is a kind of unique software which the platform runs on. You are using. So who made the software? Is it you or your colleagues from the team or some third party?
So far we are working or we are developing like pretty simplified version of the software. So right now it's just a web application, but in the future, in the later stage, we definitely want to have like a normal mobile app. But right now we have a web application, and it's like a long story how we got to it. So I won't probably, I don't have time to speak about it here. But yeah, our two members of our team are working on development of this MVP.
Good. So this is something you should definitely think about and pursue if the products go well. So my recommendation would be to set up a company and to cover the IP rights to the product contractually, because this is something you need to have in good order before the investment is coming.
Yeah.
But good luck with that. Definitely nice product.
Thank you very much for the feedback. I will keep that in mind.
Fantastic. So that was our first pitch of the day, of the night, of the evening. And thank you, Marketa, once again. Thank you guys for your feedback. And now let's switch it up and let's invite onto the stage guys from Lufteo. We have two co-founders. So you will see Adam, and in a bit, yes, we have Peppa from Lufteo. So again, 3 minutes. I hope you guys are ready. You can pull up the presentation. I'm getting a bit of feedback, but yeah. As soon as you are ready, you guys can start. You have 3 minutes whenever you start.
Okay. So, have you ever felt tired and unfocused in the middle of the day for no apparent reason? Well, it was very likely caused by bad air, because poor air quality can lower the performance by up to 10%.
In Europe, 37% of employees are not satisfied with air quality in their workplace.
Hi, I'm Peppa.
And I'm Adam.
And we are founders of Lufteo. We work on a sensor, mobile application, dashboard, and an algorithm that will teach companies how to have better air.
We built a sensor that measures CO2, temperature, pressure, and humidity, and we also plan to add VOC and PM in the future. The box is made of recycled plastics and printed on the 3D printer. We already have a mobile application in beta version available on both App Store and Google Play. It serves for employees so they can give employer feedback about air quality and educate themselves with gamification. Now we invest most of our time in the development of an algorithm where we combine feedback from employees, data from sensors, weather data, and financial results of the company. And all of this is then visualized with recommendations and tips for improvement to employers in the dashboard to get better air, more satisfied, productive, and healthier employees, and increase of the company's revenue.
Our goal market are small and medium-sized companies and self-employed people from areas less affected by coronavirus, like IT, pharmacy, e-commerce, or energetics. There are approximately 42,000 of them just in the Czech Republic. We sell our sensors for €229 per piece, analysis, app, dashboard included, with a profit of 30%. Our biggest competitors in the Czech Republic are Reair and the Greenest company. They do short or long-term analysis as a service and don't sell devices directly. Biggest global competitors are Airthings and Airthings. They are selling products too, but they don't connect measure data with employees' productivity or companies' revenues.
We work mainly on software, and we look for connections between data, clean air, people, and revenue. We also adhere to sustainable principles, work remotely, cooperate with experts such as Rishabh Sandilia, and use sustainable materials.
We talk with 12 companies and self-employed people for testing our MVP. In the summer, we would like to start serial production and selling. We also work on a special version of Lufteo for schools with a sensors implemented in a wall clock. Our goal is to sell 200 sensors this year and expand to global markets and other areas from next year.
If you believe that every employee in the world should have good air quality, help us on our mission. Like us, tell us about your friends. We would really appreciate any contact to angel investors. Thank you very much, and we are here to answer your questions.
Amazing, guys. Amazing. Thank you so much for that pitch. You made it on time, and we should as well keep it on time. I received a message from the boss that we have now 5 minutes for feedback. So yeah, again, guys, if you have any feedback, any questions, Adam and Josef are here, so anybody can kick it off if you want.
Maybe I will start because I'm in the hardware software space. So of course I'm curious. Where do you manufacture, and how long would it take for you to get to the actual product that you currently have?
Okay, so we are we are manufacturing in our garage, and we are like soldering the hardware and buy it now from China, but in sustainable principles we would like to switch from other providers, but it's not possible now, so we'll stick with this resource. And as Pepa is showing the product itself, and the box is printed on the 3D printer. We have now 5 3D printers, but we can scale up to 15. So we can manufacture, Pepa, what's the exact number per day, or
like 50 sensors per month now.
Thank you. Very nice.
Awesome. Andrej, I see Andrej preparing to ask. So
how old are you guys?
I'm 17.
And I'm 19.
Cool. I mean, kudos to coming up here and delivering a great pitch and a hardware product which you are building in your own garage. Like, that's amazing. So really thumbs up for that. It makes me ecstatic. One question I would have for you is sort of the choice of customer. Like, why do you think the competitors in the Czech Republic are not selling directly to the employers or the employees?
Well, we know that competitors are selling to big companies, huge companies, corporates, and we see there is a gap in the market. In the self-employed people, we are talking to them, small companies, medium-sized companies. You know, there's a lot of them in the Czech Republic, and it's the same with schools. You know, there's a lot of them, and for Air or Greens company or Airthings or Foraging companies, it's not interesting to sell to those small companies.
Yeah, well, you know, so we are a small company. We have like 8 people, right? And so we sit in a big office where we cannot open our windows and are not in charge of quality of air, right? And I would imagine that a lot of SMEs are in a similar position like us. We are sort of the slaves of the building master, which may be the reason why they don't sell to smaller customers, right? Because we are not in charge of our own fate when it comes to quality of air. So from this perspective, I would just make sure that when you do sell, you sort of define well the segment that actually is able to do something about it on their own, right? Like, if I would buy your sensor and then come to the building owner and be like, hey man, like, look at this, like, I want better air. He's like, all right, yeah, I will get back to you on that, you know? So like, you kind of want to make sure that you have a customer who can sort of act on the need.
Perfect. Thank you. And okay. Tomáš, any closing feedback, questions?
Yeah, I don't have legal question, guys, but I love these gadgets. So I'm personally using that Atmos sensor at home, and also a Minute, if you know this sensor. So I'm pretty interested in that. And I just wondering, have you considered providing or selling this product also to households, to just not to companies and professionals?
Yeah, but there is a problem with the price. You know, NetAtmo costs about 100 euros, and we are not okay with price lower than 200 euros. So it's really expensive for B2C market right now.
Good, but great. It is very interesting, and good luck with those guys.
Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Lucio. And again, let's switch it up. The next one we have, hopefully we have Martin here now, do we? Yes, we do.
Yes, sure.
And again, as always, I've seen this pitch previously, so I can attest that it's going to be quality. And Martin, you can pull up your presentation.
Okay, I'll try. Share screen. Share screen. Screen to share. And voila. Just let me know if you can see.
We can see it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Looking great. And as soon as you start, you're good to go, and your 3 minutes start.
Perfect. Okay, let's start then. So hello, we are Ulmana, and we build innovative product to scale organic food production thanks to implementing artificial intelligence and robotics. So there is a constant growth in organic food consumption and organic farming. And on top of that, the European Union said that in 10 years, they want to reduce the usage of pesticides by 50% and also increase the organic land from current 7.5% to 25%. And the problem is that organic farming is too dependent on manual labor, and therefore it's expensive and it's hard to scale. Conventional farmers, they need to position themselves for the future with more strict regulation and pesticides. And finally, existing agro manufacturers, for them, it's very hard to grasp topics like artificial intelligence. So Ulmana is introducing a solution which automates the weeding without chemicals and manual work. In each row, there is a camera, and our software is guiding the knives which kill only the weed, and this works pretty fast. So we offer 3 times higher profit per hectare comparing with conventional agriculture, and the most of the functionality is in software. And we're actually only one who is doing it right thanks to our deep knowledge in agriculture, software, and hardware engineering. Now we focus on validating our product and market fit, and we are working closely with end users thanks to the pilot trials. And next year, actually, we move into the solution selling, which will include our software and hardware. And for scale-up phase, we foresee to partner with manufacturers via a licensing agreement. As our company Ulmana is R&D company, we want to keep advancing our solution, extending our IP portfolio, and building strong pipeline of smart agrotech solutions. And to scale up, we're planning to support additional crops naturally, and also modify the solution for the greenhouses, and also focus for maize and sunflower. This year, we do the pilot testing with farmers in 4 countries, and we sign a strategic partnership with Agro. And actually, next week, we finalize our first patent filing with patent attorney. And we expect, looking into my crystal ball, and we expect to reach our revenue in lower amount of millions euro in coming years. And our runway is currently about 15 months, thanks to our received grant from Horizon 2020. And actually, for the first 2 years, we do not expect to be profitable, but the margin within the industry is pretty nice. And thanks to licensing model, we are expecting to penetrate the market very fast. And our team, this is our team, and we love the idea. And indeed, we have a competence to complete the product and also the capacity to scale. So thanks for watching, and I'm looking for your questions. Okay, and I'll stop the sharing.
Thank you, Martin. Again, wonderful pitch. Great, full of advice and proof, which I personally like. And again, I feel we usually go Marek, Andrej, Tomáš, so we can do this round again.
Okay, so thank you so much for the presentation. I like the idea. I do believe it has a very good potential. And personally, if I'm Andrej, I will be very interested. No, even me personally, I really like it. I really do. I really do.
Thanks. We have no good luck on Czech investors, actually. They are so focused on e-commerce. And as Andrej said, the startup has to grow exponentially. We are not on that level, and we never be able to reach such level.
No, but that's the thing. I mean, I see there a solid business case. I see that it will grow, and the thing is that it can grow for many, many years, like steadily, like expanding to other countries, expanding to different crops, as you said. And I'm a big supporter of, let's say, industry in general. So that's maybe why I like the idea.
We have to support each other as a hardware startups.
Fair enough. Over to you, Andrej.
Thanks, Marek. So I can only agree with Marek. Like I like it too, and your financial forecast had the hockey stick Oliver was talking about. I think it was like 80 million in there or something. So clearly it has the startup potential. So don't be shy.
Okay.
So I like. First, I was like, well, the choice of name based on the founder, but then I see that you do business with your father.
It's in my father-in-law, and we decide like saying in Czech, who is the company? It's from Ulmana. It's Ulmana company, so we called it like Ulmana, and we just put it on the market. Like we think that we will not fail. Just we have this.
Yeah. I like it. Like you're putting your name behind the startup, right? Like that shows true conviction, and particularly like if you're doing with your father-in-law, that's great. So, but my question, if I may, just real quick, is like, can you provide more details on the product itself? So I understand that you have like your own hardware, and then you sort of kind of also sell the software piece, which is like a subscription, or like, can you walk us through a little bit more on what the actual product does and how exactly does it work?
It's a product behind the tractor. It's kind of a frame which contains for each row kind of, we call it cultivation unit. And this unit, it has a camera and some kind of valve or pneumatic valves and knives. And actually the trick is that you need it's called intra-row weeding, which means you're going in the row and you have to cut the weed or remove the weed behind the crops. And this currently it's only human can do that, because you have to distinguish what's the culture crop and whatnot. And we use machine learning, of course. And so that's how this works. And of course, machine learning, it's a software. And our mantra is, as much as possible, we put our functionality in the software. So comparing with other solutions, for instance, for the speed, they're using some kind of wheels and all these things. We can detect the speed through the camera vision, through the machine vision, which of course we use advanced mathematic things, but then it's easy to scale. You don't have additional hardware and so on. So with this in mind, we can do a lot of things, which then we can offer to other manufacturers as a license. It can be done in a software, then they can provide their own hardware, or it can be kind of combination, software and hardware kits. So, which is kind of common in agriculture. There are manufacturers just selling kind of boxes which you mount it behind your machine, and actually it's actually pretty much our machine. Let's say like if you put these boxes on another machine which is, let's say, stupid, it raised the revenue 3, 4, 5 times because it can do then organic and so on.
Thank you.
Good. You're welcome.
I don't have a specific question. I have just finished my quick research. I've seen that you have already established a company. You are filing in the commercial register. So thumbs up for that. And from your presentation, I understand that you are also thinking about the IP and how to cover it. So from my perspective, you are diligent on the legal side of the thing, which is less interesting and popular, but important as well as the product itself. So good luck with that, and continue with good work.
Yeah, thanks. Maybe I can comment just, I think this is a good thing. There's over hardware startups that, especially in Czech or European Union, we can do the patents for our protection. So this is our kind of vision. We we do the patents as we do the free to operate and so on. And this is kind of good opportunity for us. And thanks to that, if we receive successfully patent, then with that, we can go to manufacturers and offer our solution with the software, which is protected by the patent. Yeah, this is hopefully this will be our kind of benefit, or the pros. Good.
Great. Many thanks.
Fantastic. So let me once again thank to all of our pitchers we've heard. Once again to our speakers who are very, very busy guys. So I know it's not like usually viable for them to just take time out of their day. So we are very thankful for doing that for us and spending this time with us. I know we went a bit over time, but hopefully it was valuable to everybody involved. If you would like to hear more, join us at later events when we have other speakers who we will try our best for them to be as good as those that we had today. Please join us on all of the different platforms. Startup Disrupt, we have our own community platform, community.startupdisrupt.com, and we definitely look forward to seeing all of you. And from the whole Startup Disrupt family, I wish you a pleasant rest of the evening. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.